got to do it.
What? Oh, we're not. Oh, twice? Okay.
I guess not.
You know those? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to today's episode of Immersion's Deep Dive podcast. I'm Laila.
I'm Josh.
And I'm McKenna.
We are so excited to be here for our 6th episode. And as you know, what's love got to do with it?
Yes.
So, Kenna, what does love have to do with it?
The topic of love is mentioned throughout the Bible numerous times. Loving God, God's love for us, loving ourselves, but more specifically, loving our neighbors. So for today's discussion, we thought about the importance of loving others because of our faith.
Today's scripture focus is coming from John 15:12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. So it's simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love is important.
Yeah.
What does the Bible say about love?
Well, as we just read, love each other as I have loved you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess reciprocation,
Yes.
you know.
I think it also speaks about loving God the same way you love your neighbor because of I can't remember the exact scripture, but how can you claim to love me when who you can't see, when you don't love your brother who you can?
Yeah.
The Bible also talks about the attributes of love. So 1 Corinthians, we know that love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, and it is not proud. And it ends with love never fails. So love is so important. It's more important than anything that we can do for each other is show love to each other. And like for us to have, it's so important for us to have love from each other.
Most definitely.
And I also think that God is love. Like we cannot know love without knowing God, and we cannot know God and not know love. And I think that's really important to remember when we're thinking of how we should treat others and show love towards each other.
Yeah, speaking of loving others, why do you think it can be difficult to love others?
People do bad things.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's hard when those things feel specifically not reconcilable to you. And I think we talked about this in our forgiveness episode. But I think it's essential to love others anyway because it's sort of a character builder for yourself and an affirmation that you try very hard to love others as you love God, you know?
Yeah.
And I think also we as humans, we kind of tend to be judgmental and we like overlook our flaws and focus on the flaws of other people. So that we just hold judgment towards each other, and it kind of makes it difficult to love them. But I think that is something that we have to work on because we know that God still loves us despite what we do. So we need to not judge other people.
Yeah. 2 episodes back, we did a segment with Zamar and Xavier about judging and how our appearances, people judge us based off of our appearances and like Zamar's hair and the clothing that we wear. And I think I got up and chose my outfit. But anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, just relating that back to what you said about how people judge others, and it's difficult, I guess, for some people to love others based on their judgments about others.
Yeah, like your judgment kind of clouds your view of the other person. So I think that's something we have to work on. And then also, like you said, like when people do things that upset you, it just kind of makes it harder for you to
you build a wall, you know, and it's hard to build fences, not walls.
Oh,
I thought it was bridges.
I think.
Well, in this sense, build fences. You can climb a fence, you know.
Okay.
So it was something.
Anything else for that question?
I think, are you still stuck on that? On the build fences?
Wait,
build fences, not
well,
walls. I think it's saying
because
you can climb a fence,
and like you can peek through a fence. You know, you're not necessarily like putting the wall completely down, but just like you still have that barrier, I guess.
Okay.
Like does that make sense? Because like in my mind, it's a whole different.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. McKenna's like looking at me like I'm weird or something.
I'm processing.
I'm
thinking
Why do you
about
process
it.
like
I'm
that?
really hard.
I'm just thinking about it. Okay. Are you guys ready to go to the next one?
Yeah, that's fine.
What people are easy for you to love and what people are harder for you to love? I think my family. It's really easy to love my family because they're like a built-in support system, and I'm like the people I'm closest to. So even if I don't always get along with my brothers, I'm always gonna love them because they're my family.
Yeah. Along with family, I think people that are like-minded with me, you know, that we have like the same beliefs, it's easier for me to get along with and to love them.
I think my friends also, it's easy for me to love my friends. I've gotten to a place where I have like really good friendships. So I just appreciate the presence of having like real and like supportive friends. And so it just makes it easier for me to love them.
Yeah.
I just think generally unproblematic people, which includes my family, my friends, people that think like me, like you guys said. But for people that are hard for me to love, I just
ignorant people.
People who tend not to listen to others.
Yeah. Also, sorry, not to cut you off.
No, you go.
People that don't want good for themselves.
Yeah.
I find that very hard to like kind of process in my mind. I'm like, so you don't want to better yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I find that kind of hard. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes challenging to love people who might not treat you the best or like aren't supportive towards you, and like you said, people who don't want better. Like if they're just always negative and they don't have like the best vibe about them, like it's harder for you to get along with them or just show love to them. But I think we have to overlook that sometimes and always show love to everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Most times. Okay.
Most times?
No, all the time. All the time. Why is it important that we find the definition of love through God rather than somewhere else?
I think if we find the definition of love through God, I think we exhibit that definition to others, and I think people will be better for it when we do that. So I think it's just more constructive that way, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like the world has such a different definition of love than like the Bible kind of outlines it. I think like our love has so many standards, and like people, you have to meet these things for people to show love towards you or to be kind to you. And I think the Bible doesn't do that. And so the world standards of love just create like insecurities and kind of make you feel like you're lacking if you don't meet somebody's standards. And so that would not be good for you to like define love through the world's standards of love.
Yeah. Like you have to fix yourself to be the most lovable person possible. You know?
Yeah. I don't think love has any definition, does it? Well, I mean, it has a definition, but it's like many ways to show love.
Yeah.
And then also, it's like God's love for us is endless and it's infinite. And so, because God can love us despite our flaws and our mistakes, I think it's nice to be encouraged by that, and like we know that He will always be with us no matter what. But like human love has limits. Like sometimes you just, you know, we kind of have limits, and we stop feeling like open towards each other. But God does not stop feeling that towards us.
I think when we as humans stop feeling that kind of love, once we reach that limit, I think that's exactly when we start praying and when we turn to God for assistance in that, because of course His love is endless, like you said, and when we turn to Him, He gives us that strength, I think.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I probably did, but it like went away.
Okay. So what ways do you think that we can show love to other people?
Compassion.
And showing up, consistency, showing that you're there, you know, and that if you're ever in trouble, you know, making yourself available, you know.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Like accepting people. I think a lot of people just like, especially in high school, you know, you kind of form like your cliques, and some people don't fit in anywhere. And I think it's just important to always kind of be accepting towards people, like even if they have things that make them different from you. Like, I think it's just important to accept and always be kind to people, because kindness isn't always shown very commonly throughout school, and people can be very mean and like judgmental. So I always like try to be nice to everybody.
At least a baseline concern for other people's well-being.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that's a good way to show you really care, knowing that they know that you hope they're okay.
Yeah. Checking in on people, sending a text, how y'all doing? Like something like that.
Check on the people that you don't speak to.
Yeah.
You know. I saw an Instagram post once, and it was like, to all my friends that I don't speak to or they choose not to speak to me, just know that I love you. And I thought that was really sweet. I was like, that's true. I do love them. For the most part.
For the most part. Okay. That was very short. So what can we take from this little discussion here?
Love others. Don't judge others.
Love people the way you love God.
Yeah.
And show kindness towards everybody, always.
And of course, pray before you act.
Yes.
Please do.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And again, I'm Laila.
I'm Josh.
And I'm McKenna. And thank you for joining us for Deep Dive today.
Sure.